Welcome back. As I said the last time, the young girl had just received a call from her boyfriend's parents saying he hadn't came for his weekly visit the day after that he'd last talked to her, which was surprising no matter what. Whether he was a faithful boyfriend or not, he always visited his parents. Even when he was ill, he'd make sure he visited them. Even in snow or sleet or in a hurricane, and he never ended up that day. She began to seriously worry. What if she'd made a misjudgment? What if the truth in the matter was that there was no way for him to return home? What if he wasn't the same person anymore? What if he wasn't even a living person at all? She ran to her boyfriend's house and picked up his phone. Well, his spare mobile, I should say, which he kept a track on his own mobile on, just in case he ever lost it or left it somewhere and he didn't know why, or maybe it got stolen. Being that his father worked in the police, it was understandable. And she saw where it tracked to, and she rang up her boyfriend's dad and said, "Look, I've been to his apartment, and his other phone's saying he's at the abandoned old end of town." So her boyfriend's father came and picked her up from her boyfriend's apartment and drove her to the other end of town. They drove near the house, and as they did, she saw her boyfriend's car, and just as they approached the car, the young girl in white flashed next to the car. The girlfriend only saw it for an instant, but she could have sworn there was a woman standing next to the car, and then all of a sudden she was gone. But then it seemed as if the woman was moving towards her. With every flash, she drew closer and closer to the car the girlfriend was in. And with the last flash, as the girlfriend tried to distract herself by looking in the side view mirror, the girl in white's face flashed up like she was looking at it from the back seat. But as the girl turned round in a manic panic, she noticed there was nobody there. Just her boyfriend's father's police extra things like handcuffs, just all his little barricades, all his barricade equipment and like riot shield and things like that were there. She had the shock of her life, especially when they drove up to the car and saw him, half his flesh ripped off his body, his guts spilling out, his ribs open viewed, and his heart with 5 circular, well, more like fingerprint size, burn marks on it, and it looked like it had been ripped out of his body by an animal. All the veins and arteries and the tubes coming from it were all torn and ripped, like an animal had bitten into it or clawed at it. She ran from the car. She saw the house. That's when she saw 2 young children in the house. And as she looked back at the police car her boyfriend's father had driven in, she saw the young girl smiling again, but not a happy smile, more like a manic, evil expression. She ripped out her phone, tried to distract herself as the paramedics came and the forensic team, and they analysed the body. There was no struggle, no evidence that there was any other person in that car bar him. Not even a fingerprint or a smear of lipstick from when he'd kissed the ghost girl. And his girlfriend looked on her phone. She discovered the story of women in white. They were women who'd had husbands or boyfriends who were unfaithful to them, and in a fit of blind rage or depression or temporary insanity had murdered their own children, then took their own lives. That's when she knew what to do. She climbed into the car. She'd read that they only went after men who could be unfaithful. So she knew, in a way, she was safe. As she climbed into the car and put her foot on the pedal for the ignition, she saw the woman in white begin to walk over to her boyfriend's father. She drove through the woman's ghostly form and drove straight into the foundations of the old building. As she managed to step out of the police car, she saw as the 2 children held on to their mother, the girl in white, and dragged her underneath the floorboards which led to the basement where she'd hung them and herself. I know that was quite a long story and relatively scary, I guess, and it leaves you to think, and it may plague your imagination. So I'll tell a more positive story, because otherwise I'll give myself nightmares. There was a woman who'd fallen in love with this man who she worked with. He was a police officer. and they'd both recently decided to accept a joint promotion to forensics after just working in narcotics for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI for short. He'd given her, although not an engagement ring, but a very precious, handmade, unique silver ring she'd never seen before. It was of a dragon, coiled around a rose. Seemed quite odd, but the rosebud itself was made entirely from jade. She loved it to bits, as was her feelings towards the man who gave it to her. But she began following a spate of murders with him, of women who'd, well, they appeared to have their wrists cut and had been strangled. And all that kept on coming up was Anna Lee. Anna Leave. A-N-A-L-E-E-V. She couldn't make sense of it. It happened everywhere the murders occurred. Some people had been saying it was the ghost of this woman was killing them, but she didn't believe that. She was an FBI agent after all. How could she believe in such nonsense? Until she was visited by Anna Leave. Spooking her as she began to get bruising on her wrists and a small amount of bruising on her neck. She ran. As fast as she could, she ran out of the bathroom where the ghost had appeared to gargling on blood that had been cut from her neck. The ghost's blood that had run down, the ghost unable to talk to her, but continually gargling on its own blood. She ran. She ran out of the bathroom, out into the office, and began looking for an Anna Leave. No one at all. And then she began to see a pattern. As she stared at the name that had been written repeatedly on this sheet of paper, by herself no less, she began to realise it wasn't the name of a woman, but it was, in fact, Ale Ave. Ale Avenue, to be exact. She had it straight there. She saw a shining light from one end of the basement of what appeared to be a building there. Directing her to a wall. Now I'm sorry, it's about to get 15 minutes. I'll have to continue this in a minute. Bye.